Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter what time of the day it is. What's going on, everybody? B-Boy for Christ, and this is the Monday message. Today's message is going to be based off of a book that I'm reading. Me and my wife both are reading, as well as the church that we have been attending called Journey Church in Kenosha, Wisconsin. The book is called Crash the Chatterbox. And this book is amazing. Let's see here. I got some notes that I put together here. Crash the Chatterbox, written by Stephen Furtick. Really good book. We got it on our Amazon Kindle. It was it's like $7.99. I recommend you to go get it. So what this book is talking about is the Chatterbox. What is the Chatterbox? So you have these things going on in your mind, these thoughts, these negative thoughts going on in your head all the time, just chattering, telling you what you are not, what you can't do, what you can accomplish, things of that sort. That's the Chatterbox. And what I have learned is that a lot of us suffer from the pounding that the Chatterbox gives us, including my wife, including myself, including my son. We go through these issues where, whatever God says that we are, the Chatterbox is telling us that we're not. Whatever somebody pays you a compliment, the Chatterbox is telling you something different. So the person says, "Oh, you're so pretty," but you tell yourself, "Oh, that person thinks I'm pretty. They're probably just saying it just because we're trying to be nice, but they don't really mean it. I'm really fat and overweight, and my hair is not combed," or et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes the Chatterbox leaks out of our mouths, and we sit here and take that compliment and flip it all around and make it something totally negative, or just disregard the compliment that they gave us in the first place. So this is the Chatterbox. So I took some notes, that I'm going to go through, and this is some of the results, of the Chatterbox. Some of the things that we do because of what the Chatterbox tells us that we're not. So we go through these motions of trying to please people. This insecurity falls over us, where we just feel like we have to do certain things just to make people notice us and say something nice about us, so that we can try to feel good about ourselves. And the Chatterbox can do this to us. It can get so deep into our minds and inside of our souls, to where we just think that whatever we do, no matter how hard we try, all these things we go through and we keep on doing it, that we're just not good enough. And it digs into our insecurities. And so here's one note from his book that I jotted down about the insecurities. And he said, this is one of the main reasons we struggle with insecurity. We're comparing our behind the scenes with everybody else's highlight reel. Look at Facebook, for example. Of course, the infamous Facebook. It's a highlight reel of all the great things going on in people's lives. But I know, for a fact that, while people are highlighting all these great things on their Facebook page, they have some stuff going on outside of that computer that they're not telling everybody, things that they're dealing with every single day on the inside, insecurities, issues in their family, at their job, with their kids and their spouses and with friends, just things that they're dealing with that they're not spreading with everybody else. But they spread all the highlight reel of everything that's going on. So we look at that highlight reel and our insecurities kick in. The Chatterbox kicks in. Oh, look at that person's life. They live so much better than I do, et cetera, et cetera. When, we don't really know, because they're only giving us their highlight reel, And in some ways, this is also from the book, in some ways, insecurity is the ultimate insult to God, because when we allow insecurity to override God's purpose in our lives, we're implying that He didn't quite get the job done when He put us together. That is crazy. An insult to God, that is something else right there. If you look at Hollywood, you see everybody getting the plastic surgeries and they're trying to keep up with their appearances, and women get the weave, and people get the plastic surgery on their faces, lipo, etc. It's like, are we insulting God? When we do these things, I understand going to the gym, eating better, working it out, getting it right. I get that. You want to make yourself, make yourself feel healthier, etc., etc. You just feel sluggish. You want to go to the gym. You want to eat better. But all those other things, is that an insult to God? Are we telling him that he's a liar and that he did not do a good enough job? We are made according to his purpose. God has a purpose for all of us, but the Chatterbox tries to tell us that we're not good enough for that purpose. Take a look at this here. This is also from the book. Jesus had infinite power and potential. He personally embodied the most important calling and mission in history. He did so much in his lifetime that John would later say that the world could not contain the books describing his works. Yet he noticed when he received his Father's approval at the beginning of his ministry, before he even started his mission. Now, if the Father's acceptance of Jesus was based on something that he preceded his accomplishments, what makes you think you could do anything to knock God's socks off or to obtain his acceptance through your accomplishments? So what he's saying is that God blessed Jesus' ministry before he even did anything. So we look at us, we were already made. God already knows the plan that he has for each and every one of us before we even did anything. Before I sat in front of this camera to make this Monday message, before I even thought to do Monday messages were even brought up, God knew it. He has a purpose for everybody. But for some, just for some reason, I figured out, okay, this is one of my purposes. But not everybody figures that out because the Chatterbox is there telling them what they're not. Or maybe that there isn't a God. Or if God was this or God was that, then why this, that, and the other? So you see what's happening here? So we end up trying to please people instead of pleasing God because of the Chatterbox, because of the thoughts that are going on in our mind telling us what we're not. So we're trying to please our own flesh, trying to make ourselves better, please other people, trying to make ourselves better in the appearance of others instead of trying to please God. It's in the Bible too. So check it out. John 12, verse 42 and 43. Yet at the same time, even among leaders believed in him. But because of the Pharisees, they would not openly acknowledge their faith for fear they would be put out of the synagogue, for they loved human praise more than praises from God. The Chatterbox. So if we speak up and we let everybody know who Jesus is and we acknowledge him, the Pharisees might kick us out of the synagogue. But what about Jesus? What about God? What will God do? The Chatterbox is not telling them that. The Chatterbox is telling them, oh, the Pharisees are going to kick us out if we do this. We shouldn't do this at all. But God is letting everybody know that this is the Son of Man. This is the Son of God. This is Jesus the Christ. But people are so afraid and so seeking the approval of man, of the Pharisees, that they're afraid to even acknowledge him as that. Look at 1 Thessalonians 2, verse 4 through 6. On the contrary, we speak as those approved by God to be entrusted with the gospel. We are not trying to please people, but God, who tests our hearts. We never used flattery, nor did we put on a mask to cover up greed. God is our witness. We were not looking for praise from people, not from you or anyone else, even though as apostles of Christ, we could have asserted our authority. So when we stop looking for approval of others, when we learn how to battle that Chatterbox, when a Chatterbox says, you're not going to get that job because you're not even qualified enough, you fight back with the Chatterbox saying, no, I am qualified. I have this and that credential. I can do this. I can do that. God already has my plan mapped out for me. I'm not going to let my flesh tell me and the Chatterbox tell me what I can't do and that I can't get this job. Things of that sort. You're not going to ace that test. once we start battling the chatterbox and fighting it back and we know that all it is lies, that's when we can win the approval of God. That's when we can start finding our purpose in God. My son, for example, okay, we're always looking for approval. And me, myself, I'm looking for approval of God. I want to hear the well done. I don't want to hear that I'm not good enough. I know that I'm good enough. I know for a fact that I am, or else I wouldn't be sitting here in front of this camera, sending this message to you guys, because God deemed me good enough to do it. But at one point, the chatterbox was telling me that, nah, I can't deliver any messages. I can't preach the gospel. I can't inspire people, but I can because God said that I can. So now, look at my son, for example. I used to coach basketball for my son's team a couple years in a row. Non-competitive basketball, learning the ropes type of thing. So I noticed that every time my son did something good or he did something bad, that he always looked over at me. He always looked over at me to see what my reaction was. Was I looking? Did I see him make that layup? Did I see him steal that ball? Things of that sort. He's always looking for that approval, and that's just how we should be. We should be, when we do something, we should be looking for that approval from God. We should be feeling in our hearts that God is looking down at us and he's saying, hey, good job down there. Good job. We're looking for that approval from God. Instead of looking for approval from people on Facebook, people on Twitter, people on Instagram, we're all guilty of it. People on the streets looking for approval, and then we're tearing down our own security and building up our insecurities. The chatterbox keeps talking to us, telling us what we're not, and we're just all doomed. But if we seek the purpose in God, if we look for that approval in God, and let the chatterbox know that, nah, I'm not even hearing all that. I know what my purpose is. I know God says that I can accomplish it. I am worthy. I am good enough. And there you go. So this is just a little tad bit about, what I'm reading. I'm only a few chapters in it, but I do recommend you guys to get Crash the Chatterbox. It's a really good book, and it's helping me out, and I hope that it will help you guys out. I hope this message encourages you to go get that book, and I'm pretty sure you're going through some of that as well. So as I get further into the book, I'll talk a little bit more about it, but I'm only a few chapters deep, like I said, so this is where I am. So there you go, Crash the Chatterbox Monday message. Before I go, I do want to encourage you. There's a link right there at the bottom of the screen. Sqwad is trying to do some really great things this year. We're trying to get out on missions trips. We're trying to finish this album that we're doing. Promotion is a big thing with this album. And we want to get out there and reach people. We want to reach people. We want to get out there to different states and cities as a group, because we're all spread out. We're in a few different parts of the country. We want to get out as a group in numbers and get out there and witness, minister to people, show our gifts, get out on missions trips. We have one we're going in June, and we want to do more. But we need your help. So if you hit that link down there and contribute to our campaign, $10 at the least, it gets you a cool perk. $10 or more, you get cool perks from it. So do that for us. In the meantime, we'll see you next Monday. One of us will see you next Monday. Me, r.e.f, or Get It with the Monday message. But until then, this is Be Boy for Christ. Peace. I said peace. Cut the camera off.